Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you what I do when I get up and find a plant in sad shape like this. This is my Bob Serbin. I've never had a problem with him. I'm sure you can see close up that he's just, you know, if you can fold them like this and they don't snap, your plant's in trouble. They should not feel limp like fabric. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to save this plant. I'm going to do two things to try and make sure that I still have a Bob Serbin in a month. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that all the, I don't know if you could tell, all the outer leaves between the crown and the very farthest outer leaves, so in that in-between section, and they were all limp. And if you set a limp leaf, it's just going to die. So what I did is I put them, I don't know if you can see, in a bowl of water. And you soak them for 12 hours. And the firmest ones you use to set. Like this one's already firming up. But I have had, when I got sick back in October, and I had just done a repot onto wick of all my adult plants, my Cavalier completely crashed and burned. I went to pick the plant up. The whole thing was rotten, all the way to the crown. There was nothing could be done. I literally cut those leaves all the way up and made a new stem by literally cutting out part of the leaf because it was rot all the way up. The whole plant was rotten. So I made a new stem and I set them and I got babies. And they were limp and I soaked them overnight, a good 12 hours, in a bowl of water like this. And if they are going to rehydrate, they will do it in 12 hours. So I had like 3 that were all firmed up and the rest were still limp, and I threw the limp ones away. Okay, so the first thing you do is take that in-between row, as I showed you, between the crown and the outer ones. Take all the in-between ones, like the 3rd and 4th row. Soak them in water and let them sit overnight. Nice room temperature, lukewarm water. Put them in a warm place. So we're going to let those sit overnight, and I will set those. Now what I'm going to do, this is attempt number 2, is I'm going to take this plant and remove it from the pot. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Oh, rotten roots. Okay, so I'm going to pull all the dirt off, which is not hard to do because this poor plant, oh, and I can even smell it. This poor plant just rotted. One day it was fine, it was all full of blooms, and the next day it wasn't. And if anybody says this never happens to them, well, I'm not saying anything. I just know that this happens to the best of us. So the important thing, or like when I heard a carpenter say once, we all make mistakes. What makes a skilled carpenter is fixing your mistakes. So that's what we're going to do today. This is all rotten. So I'm going to break all these lower leaves off. They're all limp anyway. And I can see that the rot has not traveled very far up the stem. But on the case of my Spanish Cavalier, it had traveled all the way into the crown. Every last leaf, every petiole was rotten. And I created a new leaf by cutting up into the leaf. And I have babies that I will be dividing up hopefully soon from that. But I saved those genetics. It's a beautiful plant. I didn't want to lose it. Okay, so I'll move this out of the way and put that down and just kind of clean up slightly so I'm not so dirty. And the first thing that we have to do is get yourself a cup of room temperature distilled water, and this is filled with rooting hormone powder. So I've got that ready to go, and I am going to see how far this rock goes. Now that was not easy to cut. but I don't like the way that looks. So I am going to, let me try and do this where you could see it. I'm going to cut it till all I see that there? Right across there. That is full of bacteria. That's no good. So you got to cut into it till there's no more rot. And I lucked out on this one. So, do I save this leaf or don't I? I'm going to take that leaf and the little flower bud above it. And I see here's another flower bud there. This plant has to put all of its energy into living, so no flowers are to be left. And then you're not going to slice, but you're just going to kind of, well, okay, I sliced there. You should scrape it. Just kind of scrape the outer edge. And this is what I'm left with. Just this little nubby. Okay. And I'm going to have to get something to brace that. I found tape works great. So, I'm going to put a piece of tape across here. I'm going to put one across here. Just plain old cellophane like you wrap your Christmas gifts in. Okay, now that we got the cellophane, the plant sits right there. And I can just water it in from the edge, and I want the water as high as I can on that. And I'm going to check it daily because I don't want that stem not covered by the water. Now I'm going to put this in my cabinet where I have at least 80% humidity, because whenever I've had to decap these, I will find that they will produce air roots in the cabinet. And then even if the water drops down and I miss it for a day, the humidity in that cabinet, I'm going to add even more right up to the edge of that. So the humidity in the cabinet will keep this plant alive. And it's probably going to be in there for at least a month, till I see, month or two, whatever it takes, till I see good root formation. And then meanwhile, these little cutie pies, after they've sat for 12 hours in distilled water, lukewarm, they're going to get set and go into my prop box. And hopefully, within about, a month or two, I have roots on this, and it could take up to 6 months to get babies out of these leaves. Usually, I find that they root within about 2 to 4 weeks, and I usually see babies within 8 weeks. But there is no set time. So anyway, I just wanted to show you what I was doing tonight, that one of my plants just collapsed, crashed, and burned, my Bob Serbin, and hopefully in a few months, Bob Serbin's still alive, and if not, I've got some backup insurance with leaves that I set. Well, thank you for watching, and all of you have a lovely evening.